Hello everyone. Hi, Anpurna. Hi, Akanksha. And this is our very first meetup of 2024 that we are organizing with GDG Odapur and WTM Odapur. And I'm really happy to host this one with, Anpurna, who is also a WTM ambassador, and with Akanksha. Anpurna, would you like to introduce yourself to the larger community out here at GDG Odapur?
Hi, folks. A very good afternoon, and thank you all for joining on this Saturday afternoon. I hope you make the most out of this session. I'm Annapurna. I'm a tech instructor. I've published several courses on various platforms like Pluralsight, Udemy, Touch Plus, and currently I'm working with DroidCon Academy as their Flutter content strategist. And I'm also a women tech maker ambassador, helping out community, interacting with community, sharing whatever I learn, and this is my social space. So welcome to the community.
Yo, that's amazing. Akansha, would you like to say two lines about you? Though we'll be introducing you later, but still, we would love to hear you.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, Punita and Annapurna. It's great to be here doing a session on Flutter, which I love the most. And yeah, I'm really excited, and I hope everyone makes the most of this session and learns more about Flutter and Firebase and are able to make a great chat app maybe by the end of the workshop. So, yeah.
Yo, that sounds great. I think our chatting feature on YouTube is not up yet, but we will let people do that on Slido. For a moment, I'll just bring my slides up. We just have two quick questions for everybody who is joining in here, and you are feel free to answer your questions to us on Slido, and then we will just move forward with the session. So I'm just sharing my screen in a while. Yep. So you can go to slido.com. Feel free to scan this QR code, or you can also use the passcode that is appearing on your screen to join in. And then you can answer our questions from where you're joining, because since this is an online meetup, we are expecting people outside of Adapur to also join us here.
Even I'm participating in this Slido.
Oh, all of us should. Even I'm trying to log in. Yeah, all of us should. Okay, we see we have people from Odisha joining us today, people from Agra, people from Udaipur, that is expected. Okay. What other locations are logging in today? Hyderabad. Okay, there are few folks who say they belong from India. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, there are folks from Bangalore. Okay, we have international people joining us in this one. Okay, okay. Well, I think if there are more folks joining from a particular city, the city has started to appear green into color. I think so. It's my assumption of that. Okay, Lucknow. Okay, cool, folks. I think we have people from different parts of the globe joining us here today. Bhuvneshwar. Okay, cool. That was really interactive. We'll just move on with next question, and this one is going to be exciting too. So, when did you start learning Flutter? It could be how many years back, or if you have an exact date or a year. Uh, for me, probably it was 2 years back when I started it. Okay, very new audience in the house. A month ago, a few people say they started in 2020. 2020, I think that was the COVID time, and most of us were also investing our times into the certification journeys and other things, right? Okay, okay, so this ensures that our audience is awake and They are answering our questions as well. So I'll just put my screen down for a while and I will bring the slides on Akansha's side up on the stage. I'll just change the view. Okay, and we would just want to share with you that Akansha is also a friend from the community. She's a software engineer at JP Morgan and she has deep interest into community. She has also been a mentor at various student communities where she has herself participated into a lot of hackathons and she has also mentored the larger crowd and the students out there at the hackathons as well, and her passion for Flutter has taken her to international conferences. And it is such a pleasure for us here at GD Geodapur to co host this event with Anpurna and also have Akanksha with us as speaker for today. So, Akanksha, the floor is all yours and you can take it forward from here.
Yeah, thank you, Punita, and welcome everyone to this workshop on building a chat app with Flutter and Firebase. So, as So yeah, a little bit about me. Punita already introduced, but yeah, I'm a software engineer at JP Morgan, and I'm also a Women Techmaker ambassador. So yeah, very passionate about building and interacting with communities and mentoring. And let's start with today's workshop. So the agenda of the workshop is to basically give you an overview of Flutter and Firebase and how you can easily integrate Firebase into your Flutter app and deploy and make a chat app very quickly. Um, you need to have some basic knowledge about Flutter. So I won't be going deep into Flutter and Dart. And we'll just be starting with setting up our project and adding authentication. And then we will perform some CRUD operations using Firestore. So yeah, let's start. So what is Flutter? For those who don't know what Flutter is, it's a UI toolkit by Google, which allows you to create beautiful applications. And with a single code base, you can create applications for multiple platforms that includes iOS, Android, web, macOS, desktop, Linux, and yeah, you can enable easily, and it allows you to create cross-platform mobile apps and web apps, and it is very flexible, so the performance is really good. So yeah, that's what Flutter is. It uses Dart programming language. And about Firebase is basically uh, com- a mobile and web application development platform built on Google's infrastructure. It offers a suite of tools and services to help developers build high quality applications, improving app quality and engaging users effectively. So it has features like real time database, cloud storage, authentication, analytics. And today we'll be looking into authentication, Firestore, and hosting. So yeah, the first step in the process is to set up Firebase and Flutter project. So for that, you can easily set up your project using these commands. So let's start. Let me go to, let me open terminal. So I hope you all have your laptops open and your, like, you already have a Flutter set up in your local system. So the first thing you need to do is to create a Flutter chat app. So the first command that we'll use is the Flutter create chat app. And let's, so here we will use this command to create and set up our project. Mm, okay. Seems like okay, instead of using terminal, it seems like there's some issue on terminal. I'll directly set it up on my VS Code. Let me get that on screen. So to start, you need to create a new project. So here I'm selecting the folder I want it to be in, and I can name it chat app. So this will create a new project. Hmm. So for some reason, I literally developed so many applications. For some reason, I am live and it is not able to locate the SDK. So let me have a look. Okay, I'll go with the project that I have already set up, and I'll probably just wipe out things from here. I might not be able to run it looking at something happen in the system. So yeah, let me go back to the slides. Yeah, so basically to start initializing your project, what you need to do is to create your project in VS Code. So you can either use this command, or you can directly on VS Code, you can create a new Flutter project. So once you do that, you need to go to that project repo, and then we are using Flutterfire configure command. So this command will basically set up the Firebase project, and what it does is it creates this file, which is firebase options.dart. So depending on the platform that you will be using, it is basically to link it to Firebase. And as you can see, this is generated by Flutterfire CLI, and it has some conditions. So if you're on, and if you're developing app for Android, so it will be able to detect that and just connect your app to Firebase. And also for different platforms, it will add the API keys, app ID, and message sender ID, so that it is connected to Firebase console. And we already have a project created there. So if we open our, go back. So as you can see here, I already have this app, but on Firebase console, like if you're creating a new project, so you can simply create it here, and continue. And if you want analytics, I will just remove this for now. So I can simply create a project here, and yeah, it'll take some time. And basically after this part, so once you're done with this step, you will have your Firebase options.dart. So your app will like has all the configurations that are needed. And in console, we will create the project. So this is ready. And here you can see we have this chat app. And the next step, let's go to the next step after this. So So after this, the next step is adding these dependencies. So we need to get them from pub.dev. So if you go to pub.dev, you can get these packages. So here you can see we have Firebase Core, Firebase Cloud Firestore, Firebase Auth, and we have another package generic social widgets. So this is basically for so that we can use the widgets instead of writing the whole code. So we'll be having chat input and where we write the message and then we send it. So this is just for that. So we need to add these in our pubspec.yaml. So here I can show you we have pubspec.yaml file. So I have already added these dependencies here. um, you don't have to do much to add the dependencies. You just need to go to pub.dev, find the dependencies and add the correct version. So after doing this, so once you're added the dependencies, you need to just run the command pubget, so that it just downloads and gets all the dependencies. After doing that, the next step is to set up your main project and initialize Firebase here. So if we go back to our main.dart, and probably I'll just wipe all the code from here and start from the beginning so that it's easier to understand what went in the code. So yeah, we have imported all our packages. We have Cloud Firestore, we have Firebase Auth for authentication, and Firebase Core, and material package for material widgets. And we also have generic social widgets, which is something we will use and look into. So yeah, let's start with our code part. And the first thing that you write in Flutter is the main function. So let's start with this. So this ensures that Firebase is initialized. So we will write Firebase initialize app, and so we don't have chat app created as of yet, and we can create a stateless widget, which will be our chat app. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, so we have just initialized at the beginning Firebase app, and it will pick up the platform that we are using it for. And here we have this stateless widget where we will write the UI code basically for the chat app. So starting with just basically adding the app bar, and we will be adding a login button as well. So here we will return the material app, and we can add the title that will be chat app, and we have to add theme. So theme data, we can add theme data here, and we will make use material 3 2 so that it uses material 3 instead of 2, and we can have primary color to be colors dot amber maybe. So after this, we need to set the home as well. Also, we will make the debug checker to be false, and we will have home set up. So for home property, we'll set up the chat page widget. So this will be created, and So chat base will be another stateless widget where we'll create the UI for our chat app. And let's create another one here. So in chat app, this will be chat page. So yeah, this after creating this chat page, like we need to create the UI for the chat app. So basically, we're gonna have a login button at the top. In app bar, we'll have a login or logout button, and the user will sign in anonymously. So we're not adding. We want just everyone to sign in to the chat app and be able to add their messages. So we'll be adding that here, and here we can return a scaffold, and inside scaffold we're gonna have an app bar. Inside the app bar we can have the title. So title can be something simple like greatest chat app, and we need to add elevated button at the top. So we will be adding an elevated button. So here in on pressed, so when it gets pressed, what we need to do is we need to log in. And for this, we will write the code. And child, we just need to add a text. Here it will say login or logout. And when we press the button, so we basically need to log in the user, and for that we have, so if you see in the console we can set up, I'll switch back to my chat app. Yeah, so if you go to authentication in the sign in method, you can enable this anonymous sign in option. So user will be able to sign in anonymously. And after enabling this, in terms of code, here in the code, what we need to do is to check if the user is signed in or not. So here, let's write Firebase auth dot. So if the current user is sign out, so if the current user is null, so that means is not null, so that means he or she has signed in the app. So that means we can give them an option to, we need to sign out, and if they are not signed in, then we will let them sign in. So basically, in this widget, you can see we simply have an app bar that says there is a title, and we have an elevated button which will appear at the in the app bar, and it is basically for checking if the user is signed in or not. So, and we can sign in if they are not signed in. So if the current user is not null, so that means they are already signed in, and if they click the button they will be able to sign out, and if they are not signed in they will be able to sign in anonymously. So this way we will be able to sign in to our app. And after doing this, here we have the app bar. In body we will be having the chat app body, where we will have a text field for sending the messages, and then we will be displaying them. So here we can have another widget, so we can name it chat view, and we will now create this one. So for chat view, basically what we're going to do is we're going to create another stateless widget. This will be chat view. So in this chat view, um, after user has logged in, they need to send a message. So we need to have a text field, and need to get the data, and then they will have an option to send it, and then we'll display it. So for this we need to have a message class as well, a model class, to set up how the data is gonna be sent to Firebase, and then how we're gonna read it from it. So for that, we need to have a collection. So let me go back. Yeah, so we have enabled, like we have Firebase, Firestore database, and here we have a message collection. In the message collection, you can see the document ID would be, if we add a document here, so this will be like automatically created, and the fields that we have are message, timestamp, and the user ID. So user ID will also be something that's created by itself by Firestore, and you can see these are how the messages are going to be. And for this, we need to create a model class in our project. So let's go back to VS Code, and I already have it here, so I'm just going to go through it from here. So yeah, so it's basically a simple model class. And as I showed you on Firebase console, that it has message, it has a timestamp, and the user ID. So yeah, the model class you can start creating. So it has user ID, message, and timestamp. And yeah, so we have a from Firestore function here to get the data. So when we are getting it from Firestore, we need to get the user ID, we need to get the message and timestamp, and when we are sending to Firestore, we are sending user ID, message, and timestamp in the same way. And this is in the collection messages, and this will be ordered by timestamp in the descending order is true. So this will be ordered by timestamp in descending order. So this is how the class will be, model class will be created for sending the data to Firestore and reading from it, and we'll be using these functions later in our code to get the data and send the data. So once you're done creating the model class, the next step is to write the data for sending and getting the data from Firestore. So let's go back to our main.dart file. Yeah, so we were here, we have a chat view widget. So let's start with this. And now that we have our model class, so we'll start with here. And Yeah, so in the stream we will be checking. So we will check if the data is available. So right now I already added in the database. So there are some messages already, but we still need to add the condition like if there is data or not. So when we create a new app, like there in the collection, there won't be no data. So we need to check if the user data is available or not. So for doing that, check if the user data is available or not. So we will check if the snapshot so in case the data is not available, so we'll add a progress bar. So if the data, the snapshot data is null, in that case will display that no user is logged in. So in case there is no data, and we can display so when the user is not logged in, we're gonna check and display this message on screen. And when the user is logged in, so we're gonna show them the chat interface. So if the user is logged in, so here, if the user is logged in, then we will return the chat interface, and the chat interface will be in a column. So in this column, we will be adding the chat interface, which will contain a container with user ID. So let's add the container with some padding. Mm, yeah. So basically what we are doing here is we are showing the user ID Yeah, so the first thing that we are showing here is the user ID. So if the user logs in on screen, we're gonna display a user ID, which will be automatically generated by Firestore. So it won't be any relevant, but just to show that the user is logged in, we can show the user ID. And after adding the user ID, after showing the user ID, we can show them place to enter the text, and then they will be able to send a message. So for that, let's create. So inside this column we have a container, and we can have a expanded widget, and this expanded widget will basically also have a stream builder of the query snapshot. And we will check the connection state of the snapshot. So if the connection state is waiting, then we will just return a circular progress indicator. So basically, we'll check if we are like when we are trying to retrieve the data. So it doesn't. It takes some time. So for that reason, until it appears, we'll show a progress indicator here. So we can add center, and this will have a sized box. The height can be 50, and the width will also be 50. So this sized box will have our circular progress indicator. So yeah, basically here we are checking if there are some messages already, and if there are not, then it will be showing the progress indicator, and it will also show that there are no messages. So for that we will add if our snapshot has data or not. So if the snapshot doesn't have data, or yeah, so it will check if a snapshot has data, or if it doesn't have data and the size is zero, the size is zero, then that means there are no messages. So we're gonna show that no messages are there, and then we're gonna have an option to add the message. So here after doing this, let's move ahead, and here So the item count for the list view builder. So this is basically, if there are no messages, then we will show this message. But if there are messages, then we're gonna get it from Firestore and display them. So we are using a list view builder here, and we'll show the messages. So if the item count would be this snapshot data size, and then we will have item builder. And we will have an index. So we need to get the message. So we will save it in a variable. So we have a message which we're gonna get from the Firestore. So message dot from Firestore. So this is the function that was in the model class that we will be using. So here from Firestore we will get the message in snapshot dot data, and this will be so here we get the data from the snapshot, and basically here we are trying to access the data from the current snapshot of Firebase Firestore query, and we try to unwrap the snapshot data. If it's like assuming it's not null, then with .docs we access the list of document snapshots and returned by the query, and with the index we specific, like we can access the specific message. So we will just try to finish this part, and yeah, let me so string, and yeah, so this will help us in fetching the data from Firestore. Now we need to display it here in the list. So add we will be adding the chat bubble that will show the message. So we are adding some padding first, and this can be here. So here we add the chat bubble, and this chat bubble will have the message. So now you must be wondering where this chat bubble came from. So this is basically from the generic social widgets package that I have in the project, so that we don't have to create this part. Like we can write the code by ourselves too. But if we use the package, it just becomes easier, and we just pass the message and it will automatically appear as a chat bubble that you must have seen in the chat apps. So yeah, so right now what we have in this chat view, let me just go through it once so that you can have a little bit more clarity on what I have done so far. So in this chat view widget, what we are doing is we check if the user data is available or not. So we check the connection, and if it's not there yet, if it's not connected, then we show a circular progress indicator. If the data is null, so that means user is not logged in, we show that the user is not logged in the center of the screen. But if user is logged in, then we show their user ID on top, and we show their user ID on top, and then we check for the messages in our Firestore. So here we are checking if there are any messages or not. So in the stream builder, like we have the query snapshot, we try to connect and see if the similar step we are doing here, if it's connected, then if it's not connected yet, so it will show some circular progress indicator while it is trying to connect. And then we check if there's some data or not. So if there's no data, then we show that there are no messages. And if there is data, then using a list view builder, we try to display them in a chat bubbles. So different chat bubbles will appear if there are multiple messages. So far, we are trying to read the data from Firestore, and now we also need to send the data to Firestore. So for that, we'll try to input the data. So let's do that as well. So um, for chat input, we will be using chat text input. So this widget is also part of the generic social widget package, so that we don't have to like create the layout for it or write the code for it. So these two are part of it and basically help us with the layout part. We don't have to write it from scratch. So in chat text input, what we're doing is we will have on send, and this will basically send our message to Firebase. So we'll have on send, and here we need to enter the message. So message dot, so we check if it's empty or not. So user needs to enter their message, and we will check if it's empty or not. If it's empty, then we will add it. So now we will try to write it to Firestore. So the collection name was messages, and we will add our message. So the UID will be automatically created by Firestore. So this can be snapshot data UID, which automatically gets created, and the message, we will pass the message, and this will be sent to Firestore using this. And yeah, so this is how we're gonna send the data to Firestore uh, with chat text input widget. uh, User will have a text field where they can enter the message, and it will send it to this collection. The user ID will be automatically created, and the message we are going to pass, and with to Firebase, the function that we have in the model class. So it will be able to send the data to Firestore, and this is where we read the messages. So basically, we should be done with this part, and Let's try to run this if it works, because for some reason I seem to have five fire flutters SDK missing. But let me still try to run this. Okay, this might work. So if somebody is following the code and they have not been able to pick up or missed some of the parts, I will drop the link to my GitHub code so they can have a look at it here. Mm. Punita, can you drop the link to the chat, the GitHub link? So here you
Yes,
can
yes, I'm doing that. Yes.
see the running app. So as you can see, the title is here and the user is not logged in. So if I click on login, it will be able to log in. And because I already had a couple of messages in the Firestore database, so it is showing that. And you can see here the user ID, which is automatically created. And now if I type a message here, type a message and send it, so it should appear if it's working. Okay, there seems to be some error. Let me check. Okay. Okay. So Tanishq, Flutterfire isn't working for you. What's the error that you're getting? Is it saying that it is not recognizing? So let me stop this for now. So if you're getting this error, you basically need to install Firebase CLI, Firebase tool CLI. So after doing that, I think you won't get this error. But yeah, even I have it right now, even though I did it just for the session as well, and I used these command for some reason. It does occur sometimes, so you need to also set a path. um, if it's the same error, let me quickly check once again, because it's quite common. Yeah, depending on the system that you are using, you need to yeah, activate. Let me So you need to run this command to activate Flutterfire CLI, and you also need to export this path. So now you can see it's working. So that's, let me just paste this command in the chat so you can try this. Okay. Mm, so this is Dart pub global activate flutter fire CLI. Punita, can you also drop this command in chat? And as you can see here, we need to run this command, and after it's done, like it is done, then we need to also do this like export path. So I'm on Mac, so it might be different for Windows or Linux, but yeah, you need to run this as well. You need to add this, and after that it will be able to, like, it will work. So with this command, what we were doing is, when you create a new project and you run this command, so you can just set up Firebase for your project using the CLI, and it's quite easier. Like, what you need to do is select the platform. So here we have Android, iOS, Mac, and web, and with space you can select which one you want. So for I just want web, so I'll select web, and then it will just fetch the dependencies, and it will, so you can see I already have Firebase options.dart file, uh, but when you start it, like, it will create for you. But if I want to rewrite it, I can just click and rewrite this. So this has been updated for now. So this is basically what gets generated with the flutterfire configure command, and has all the APIs and storage bucket and everything that is used to connect it to Firebase. So once you are done with this, I think shouldn't be any issues in connecting to Firebase. In terms of code, the okay, Tanish. So no issues. I think you already have the GitHub repo, and because I'm quite done with the chat app. Basically, what it does is, you are able to sign in anonymously, and then you add your like message. It is sent to Firestore, and it is read from Firestore, so you can see the messages. And where did it go? So yeah, you can see in Firebase console we have our messages, and Firebase also provides an option to host. So we can also host our app, and it's quite simple too. So because hosting is already enabled in my app, but if you go to your project settings for hosting, so for hosting, what you will have to do is, you need to install like this command if you don't have. But I think after doing the step that I mentioned, you should be able to log in using Firebase. Let me show that. So once you have the Flutter Fire, um, yeah, once you have that, you should be able to log in as well from here. So I'm already logged into my email ID, and I can see my projects. And for the deployment part, okay, you're on Windows. I think after running that command, you need to add it in your system environment variables. You need to add the path. Let me send you the steps in chat. Yeah, let's go back. Yeah, so for the deployment part, it's quite simple as well. So you need to add, so you can see here, we have some options. So this is the script that we need to add in our web folder. So if I go back to our code, so we already have this web folder. Here we have this index.html file, and here I already added the script, but basically this part is what I added here. You need to get it from Firebase console and add it here. And yeah, you just add it here. And after that, so you need to initialize hosting. So for that, you will just do this. You will run this command Firebase init hosting. So if I run this, so it will help me set up the hosting part. So what do you want to use as your public directory? I can type public and then configure as a single page app. So I'll say yes. And do I want to set up automatic builds and deploys with GitHub? As of now, I don't want to do that. So no for this. And it says that this already exists because I ran this. It can overwrite or not. So maybe I'll go with no. And here we already have this. So basically this is what it generates, but our index.html file is here, and we have Firebase JSON file which gets generated when we run that Firebase hosting command. So in here we need to replace it to build web, because this is where our index.html is. So once you build your Flutter app in the build folder, you get your web build, and this index.html is what the web build is, and this is what we are referring to once we deploy our app. So after doing this, after replacing this part in Firebase JSON, all you need to do is you need to run Firebase deploy command. Like you need to run Firebase deploy, and it will start deploying your application. So here you can see it says found 24 files in build web. So if it's not showing the same for you, then that means it's not able to find the build. It's not able to find the web build, so it must show some number of files. So yeah, it should be deployed. The project is deployed. It might not work because I tried, but yeah, this is where this will be the domain and you will be able to access it. um, yeah, so deployment is quite simple as well. And let me go back to the slides. So I'll quickly review what I have covered in so far. So first thing we do is to initialize the project. We can use these commands, or we can go in another way of doing it is you just create a VS Code project, and on Firebase console you create a project there, and there also you have an option to connect it to Android app, iOS app, or web app. So there you will get the steps that you need to perform. So first thing we did was to create the project. Then we added dependencies in pubspec.yaml. And for the project structure, we started with the main function. So here we initialize our Firebase, and depending on like it will pick up the current platform. After doing that, this Firebase options.dart file is what is generated when you do Flutterfire configure. So this gets generated, and it is basically for connecting your project to Firebase, and it will have all the things done and all the keys and everything. So yeah, this is what is there in Firebase options.dart. And in terms of project structure, what we had is, let me run this and show what we had. So in terms of project structure, we started with the chat page, which was quite simple. Um, we added Firebase authentication. So for adding Firebase authentication, we enabled it on Firebase console, and you can see this is pretty simple. Like, we just added a simple title, and we in actions we added a elevated button, which is this one. This is the elevated button, and this is for login. So here you can see when the elevated button is pressed, we check if the current user is not null. So basically, this means that user is already logged in. So we give an option to sign out. Like when they press the button, they will be able to sign out. If they are not signed in, they will be able to sign in anonymously. So this is what the button does. And then we add the chat view widget, which will basically have the UI. So in UI, we check for the authentication, if the user is authenticated and or not, and then we show the user ID. So if I log in here, user is not logged in, but if I log in here, you can see the user ID here. So this is for the user ID. And then the next step is to query Firestore, where we will send the data and get the data. So we created a message class, which is simple. We just have user ID, message, and timestamp. And we have functions for from Firestore, which is basically to get the data from Firestore. So it is uh, doing basically converting it into in a way that we can access it. So this is to get the data and send the data. We have this to send the data. We are sending the user ID, message, and timestamp to Firestore function, which we have used in the code later. So this is for sending and getting the data. And then we have a simple message query. So this is to like let it know that it is a collection name, and the order of the data would be in timestamp descending order. So that's how the data will be saved. And then we display the Firestore data. To display the Firestore data, we just show the user, and we are gonna read the data from Firestore. So with the help of Stream Builder, we check the snapshot. In the snapshot, we check if the its connection, if it's waiting, then we show a circular progress indicator. But if we already have the data, then with the help of list view builder, we just display the data. So this is where the from Firestore function comes. So here we read the messages snapshot. If it has data, then with like each data, we get it and display it in the chat bubble. So chat bubble is a widget which is part of the package. So um, basically, this chat bubble, you don't have to create it or write the code from scratch. We are using a package for it. And then after reading the data, which is already there in the Firestore, we also want to send messages to the chat app. So for that, we will write to Firestore. And for writing to Firestore, we are just sending our messages in the chat text input field. So this is chat text input, uh, which we are using with the widget from the package. We didn't create any of it. Otherwise, if we had used material widgets, like we just had used a text field, then it might not have looked this way. It wouldn't have been presentable. And we also had to add this button as well for sending the message. So our work has become simple with this chat text input widget, and we are just passing the message, and this will send it to our collection messages, and this will be stored in the Firestore. Yeah, and the next step we talked about is deploying the application, which was quite simple. We need to replace in the Firebase JSON, as I showed, you need to replace the source. Here in you can see, so this is the hosting part, and this is basically you can name it anyway, and it's just basically to tell you that this is where our index.html file is. So we need to replace this, otherwise it won't be able to find your index.html file. And then we run this command firebase deploy to deploy our app. And yeah, that's how we make the chat app. We are done with it. I think with the GitHub repo, no one should have any issues in following it up. But yeah, so that was the chat app. It's quite simple. It's just to show you how easy it is to integrate your app with Firebase and quickly make something where you are performing the CRUD operations and reading and writing the data. So yeah, that was it. And let's see if there are any questions.
Yes, people. Thank you, Akansha, for the amazing session out there. And if anybody has any questions, please post them there. I'll remove the GitHub link, which is up there for now. So just like Tanishq is mentioning that there were some issues with Flutter Fire, I think Tanishq, with most of the development that you do on Windows, you will always encounter these kind of things which you have to add into the path. And once you add it into system environment variables out there, I think the things will go smooth for you there. And yes, the reason why we are conducting this session online, I understand it gives us extra privilege to try things out later at our own speed as well. And that's the reason we have also kept the recording up. So you'll be able to find it on our channel later as well. So no worries if you have tuned in little later or something like that. Please feel free to go through the recording and feel free to write us your questions on our event page as well. And we can also have a follow-up session in future if there's any particular topic in Flutter which is actually confusing for you, or you just want one session of actually putting your app up on Google Play Store, or maybe Apple Store or something like that. We can also go into that direction. And apart from that, one quick question to you, Akanksha, is what made you choose Flutter professionally?
Sorry.
What made you choose Flutter professionally? Like, when did you decide that you want to take Flutter professionally and how it happened?
So Flutter, I initially started learning Flutter when I participated in my first hackathon, and I realized how easy it was to build a prototype. And just like, because in hackathons we don't have enough time, and within like 20 hours or even less than that sometimes, because a lot of time goes into ideation and understanding the problem statement. So that's when I built my first Flutter app, and I realized that it's quite easy to pick up for anyone who doesn't even have the Dart knowledge to begin with. Like, initially you don't really need to go that deep into the Dart programming language, because it is quite similar to other object oriented programming languages. And it was just very easy to pick it up and build something. And especially with hot reload, and you're able to see what you're building at the same moment, it just felt easy for me. And that's when I decided that I would love to explore Flutter more and see what I can build with it. And yeah, it's quite exciting how it's currently being improved, and it's getting more popularity these days. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome and great to know. Another question is, are there any companies that you can recall right now which are using Flutter into their applications, or are there any everyday apps that we all end up using, but they are using Flutter behind the scenes, something like that, if you are aware about and would like to bring that to light?
Yeah, there are a lot of apps that use Flutter, and Google Pay. It uses Flutter. So that's something that's one app that everyone uses a lot. So yeah, there are a lot of startups as well, in India and abroad, that they are using Flutter, especially startups, because building a prototype, and instead of like building a prototype is quite easy, and even scaling your app is easy with Flutter, and it's becoming quite popular. Even I recently saw in Shark Tank, I think it was season 2, the Shark Tank India, there was a startup, something related to trading, and they were using Flutter because it's quite scalable, and it gives you power to build something scalable at less effort than other frameworks, I would feel, because with the help of community, and with the help of a lot of packages, and building UI, interactive UI is quite easy. So yeah, it's getting quite popularity, and I'm hoping to see a lot more apps, and even the big companies are trying to adopt and experiment with Flutter. Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that Google Pay is actually using that. And I think all of us can go back and now check the Google Pay once again, the UI and everything, though we use it every single day. But it's all built into Flutter and it's something that we can experience ourselves as well. And Shipra Jan has one interesting question out there. So, in the era of artificial intelligence, what will be the future of Flutter?
Well, I think AI is definitely helping Flutter. We can have AI, like when Firebase, like this last year, Firebase AI extensions were launched that can be integrated in Flutter, that allow you to have on-device machine learning, which makes it like you don't even have to be connected with internet, and you can have machine learning in your Flutter apps, and the functions, like features that you can build with it, are quite extensive. So you can have different machine learning models. There is still work going on in terms of Firebase AI extensions, but there are a couple of them that one can explore, like barcode scanner, or something simple as well, just selfie segmentation or things like that, which can be used in different features in the app. So it's AI is actually giving more power to just all the applications in general. But yeah, in terms of Flutter, it is also empowering Flutter to become even better.
I would
And
like to add, yes, I would like to add to Akansha's points, like how AI will be helpful for Flutter. Like we have Flutter Flow right now, which is quite in demand, and Flutter Flow AI is already assisting with code generation in Flutter. Besides that, Flutter apps can also be integrated with AI features for various functionalities like creating chatbots or voice assistants or image recognition. We can use AI for all those features in our Flutter apps. So AI will be a great add-on to creating Flutter apps, or creating any apps or websites in general.
Yeah, right. And I think those are some really, really interesting advancements that will, become the part of Flutter along with artificial intelligence combined together. So that's interesting as well as exciting as the times with artificial intelligence is currently going on. One last question, Akansha, that I have is like, when I started learning, it was some version of Flutter 1 which was going on. And while the time I was building one of my own applications, I heard that Flutter moved to Flutter 2. And currently it's Flutter 3. So suppose if I built an application into Flutter 1, and in future, because I want those extra functionalities that are coming into Flutter, I want to migrate my application from Flutter 1 to Flutter 3. What will be the tech depth that will come along with it? How hard or how difficult will it be?
So it's quite easy to actually migrate your apps in terms of Flutter. Like you just need to upgrade your version, and depending on because there are like with every version there are things that get improved, or there might be some dependencies that get deprecated. So you will have to definitely put some efforts, but it shouldn't be that difficult to migrate your apps. It might not take that long. So yeah, with the community support, in case you get any issues with, like, the community is huge and they're very supportive, so it shouldn't be like a big effort in terms of time, or in terms of the bugs that you encounter. It should be, there are documentation on how to migrate and the steps on Flutter, documentation, official documentation. So it should be quite easy to migrate your apps.
Thanks, Akanksha. I think those were some really, really great insights. I'll definitely try to go back and look at my application, which was built into Flutter 1, and definitely think about migrating it to the newer versions. And I might proceed ahead with even hosting that. And this was a very, very lovely session that we had today. I seriously liked it, and it helped me revise a lot of my own concepts of Flutter, which I learned once upon a time and never looked back at those. But this was truly an inspirational session for me as well. And I would quickly want Anpurna also to add her thoughts here on that.
This was simply a showcase of how we can build complicated functionalities easily in Flutter. And integration has been very smooth in Flutter in all aspects.
Yeah, right. So that was wonderful. And I think, folks, you should definitely go back, check our recordings, shoot us the questions or the doubts that you have. And we'll definitely plan upcoming sessions on Flutter with slightly more advanced versions. But we are giving that break in between so that, you are with us on that. We just don't want to go at our own speed and not bring you along with it. So take your time, do your hands-on activity, go back and check the recording, and I think that will truly add more value to your learning journey of Flutter. Right, Anpurna?
Definitely.
Yeah. So thank you, Akansha. Thank you, Anpurna. It was great having this session, and we'll see all of you soon again.
Bye,
Yeah.
folks. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Thanks everyone. Thank you for joining. Yeah. See you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye. Bye.